Hey, what's up, guys? Tolbert coming at you with the lesson for Tuesday, 5/12. Hope you're all doing well. A couple quick updates. I will not be having Microsoft Teams meetings on Tuesday for two reasons. Number one, I've got really nothing new to share with you. But number two, I'm going into the school tomorrow. Now that we are in phase one of the lockdown, we can have up to like 8 teachers in the building at one time. And so I'm going in to clean up my classroom and prepare it for the summer so they can, like go in and fix the floors and everything else. So I'll be there tomorrow during our normal talking time, trying to get things cleaned up. Um, I think I'm going to take my laptop with me and film Wednesday's lesson from in there, just to get a little bit of normalcy. Um, so there's that. My cats really want to get out. I have my bedroom door closed. Um, So yeah, that's really all the big news that I need to get. If you got any questions though, please don't hesitate to hit me up, or if you need to talk to me in Microsoft Teams, let me know and I can set up. I can find time tomorrow. I'll be at the school for a 2 hour block, uh, but I can find time around that, and we can meet and get everything done that needs to get done. So just to get the notes done for today, I'm gonna move myself over here. We have got to. Uh, Talk about the end of the war in Japan. So, um, start from. I've done this twice now. So when the war ends in Europe, we still got another 3 months before the war in Japan ends. Um, the thing is that when we were fighting in Europe, we were also fighting the Japanese in Japan, but nobody else was fighting the Japanese. It was just us. The Russians weren't fighting them. The British and the French weren't fighting them. It was just us. So when the war in Europe ends, we can now focus all of our efforts on Japan. But we'd been fighting there since 1941 in December, right after they had bombed us at Pearl Harbor. And it had been going on for a while. And that's because, guys, whenever you think about the war in Japan, it's a lot different. Um, in D-Day in Europe, we talked about how hard it was to go onto the beach. In Japan, you had to do that on every single island because they had taken over the Philippines and Guam and Iwo Jima and all these different places. And so we had to basically invade a whole brand new island or a brand new country every single time, and we were doing it completely by ourselves. And that was extremely stressful for a lot of our soldiers. And so ultimately, what ended up happening was Russia came to us at the end of the war. And they said, you know what? We're going to help you out. If you can't finish the war in 3 months, we're going to go over there and we're going to help you defeat the Japanese. But at this point, we'd been fighting the Japanese all by ourselves for what, 5 years? We didn't want their help. And so we were trying to think what's something that we could do that would just end it without the Japanese getting involved. And that's where we see the dropping of the atomic bombs. Please write down US dropped 2 atomic bombs, one on Hiroshima, one on Nagasaki. This was a big, huge move that ultimately President Truman of the United States had to come up with. And it was tough because he knew that whenever he dropped these bombs, it was going to, number one, change the way wars are fought. And number two, that a lot of innocent people are going to lose their lives. I mean, shoot, we even dropped it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki because those were two cities that had not been bombed that much. And we wanted to see what it looked like before and after when we just dropped an atomic bomb on a city that hadn't been hit yet. Like these were civilian cities. One of them had a munitions factory where they were making guns and bullets for the Japanese war effort. But still, this is like big, crazy things. And when we drop these two bombs, it completely changes the way that all war and all diplomatic relationships are going to be done forever, right? We still, back in the fall, we were at Shoot, at the beginning of our semester, us and Iran were at each other's throat, and Iran was like talking about beginning World War III and sending nukes to the United States. Like this is something that we still deal with. So where they come from, it's actually crazy. What's different about this bomb than any other bomb that exists is how hot it gets. Um, like most bombs, there's an explosive. It hits the ground, it goes boom, it knocks things over. An atomic bomb has nuclear fission, and nuclear fission generates a lot of heat because the atoms are moving, and whenever they detonate, they move even faster. And what this does is it generates so much heat so quickly that essentially anything that has any liquid in it immediately evaporates within a certain area. We test dropped one in the desert in Arizona, and it got so hot it immediately turned the desert sand into glass, one sheet of glass. That's how hot it got. If you were within 1,500 yards, 15 football fields of an atomic bomb hitting the ground, the second you saw the flash, immediately your body temperature would rise 2,000 degrees and you would evaporate. You would be dead before you could blink and you wouldn't feel anything. And the crazy thing is that the guy that invented the idea of nuclear fission and brought it to the United States was a German Jew who left because Hitler was rounding up the Jews and putting them in concentration camps. And just imagine had this guy stayed there, and actually been in support of Hitler and the things he was doing. But the craziest thing about it all is that was Albert Einstein. He fled Germany, he came to the United States. He gave us the idea. It got to this guy right here in the picture, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and he started the Manhattan Project. And a very famous quote from him was, "I am man, destroyer of worlds." When they tested that first one and they saw how devastating it was, those are the actual two bombs that was dropped. Little Boy and Fat Man. Little Boy on the left that went to Hiroshima. Nagasaki got Fat Man on the right. Here is the plane and the crew that dropped it. Guys, it killed 200,000 people on the day and days after because people died for months after this because of exposure to radiation and everything else. Like, this is what it looked like whenever it hit the ground. This picture does a really good job. My mouse is working. This is the same area. You can see this big river flowing right down through here. You can see the bridge coming up and over, and then the road that intersects that bridge. This is before, this is after. Ground zero is where the bomb hit. All of this is leveled. Everybody within this entire span right here completely dead. Houses destroyed, no buildings left. That is total war in a nutshell. That is bringing everybody into the war, and you're not afraid to kill anybody and everybody. But this is also, guys, and here it is today. It's completely free of radiation. You can go there and visit. President Obama went there in 2015 to celebrate the 60th anniversary, 60th, 70th anniversary of the dropping of the bomb, and he gave a speech right there at that monument. That's where it hit the ground. But that's really the big thing that we got to get out of it all is that this is the beginning of the nuclear age. This is huge in terms of the ramifications that it's had on the United States. And for that, I want to take you to our assignment for Tuesday. So you got to take the notes, and then there's a discussion board below. There is a website that I want you to click on and I want you to mess around with for 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to talk about that in your discussion post. So let's go to the website first. This is called Nuke Map. This is a website in which you can see how bad it would be if an atomic bomb was dropped somewhere in your vicinity. So let's say, um, tell you what, I'll put Winston-Salem. All right. And let's pick a bomb. Let's say that Little Boy, the first atomic bomb ever used, is dropped on Winston-Salem. How bad would it be? I'm going to do an air burst. I'm going to do casualties and radioactive fallout. And I'm going to click detonate. Sorry, I did Charlotte. Let me click go to Winston-Salem. Try that again. And my internet's being a little slow, but what should be in the background here is a map of Winston-Salem as it's slowly, slowly developing out. All right, fantastic. So here you can see Walkertown on the map. Um, but if it were to be dropped in Winston-Salem, 16,810 people would die instantly. Instantly. 26,520 injuries. You can go here and look and see that this yellow area in the middle is the fireball radius. That's where it just generates so much heat. And then you get all the different blast and every other kind of damage. I tell you what, let's do a surface and detonate that. And you can see if it hits the ground, what the wind will do with it. And if I zoom out here, you're not going to get as many fatalities that way, but look at the damage it does. Up in Walkertown, where our school is, the wind would blow that radiation all the way up into mid Virginia. Like you're getting close to Lynchburg, you're somewhere in Roanoke, Richmond's up here. And that's just the small one. If you guys were to go for Fat Man and do the same thing, sorry, my internet's going really slow. It's a much bigger bomb. You're going to get much more fatalities. And I'm assuming that if we zoom out here, we're going to get this stuff all the way up into Washington, D.C. We're going to, oh, nope, not quite Washington, D.C., but we're getting closer. And then, guys, you can start playing around. There's much bigger bombs that have been created and a few other things. But what I want you to do, guys, is go on this website and I want you to play around and then go back in. And our discussion board is talking about, I want you to write 3 to 4 sentences about the dangers of living in a nuclear world. I want you to think about how dropping a bomb on Japan completely changed the world, right? A lot of this is going to be prediction. A lot of this, you can freak yourself out a little bit by playing around with that website. Change the location to New York. Do the biggest bomb. Like it's so scary that some of this stuff can happen. And I want you to come on here, go to the discussion board, give me 3 to 4 solid sentences as to how the creation and the dropping of the nuclear weapon has changed the United States. And that's all I got for Tuesday's lesson. Again, if you need anything, hit me up and remind, send me an email. I'll record my video tomorrow from the classroom. I'll be in there for a couple hours. If you need anything from me, please let me know. Again, no Microsoft Teams meetings tomorrow, but we will have our Friday appointment um, set up. Cool. All right. You guys have a great day.